Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Can we start the session?
Yes, ma'am. We can start.
So, welcome to everyone for the webinar session on quality consciousness. I would like to welcome Dr. Prasad, SN Lieutenant Colonel and Director of Shri Dharmasthala Manjunatheshwara Institute of Management Development, which is SDMIMD Mysore. This is organized under the aegis of Industry Institute Interface and EduTech Expert Committee of BCIC. This expert committee is chaired by Dr. N.R. Parshuraman, Director Emirates of SDMIMD Mysore. Co-chair is Mr. Rabindra Sa, Chief Engineer, Strategic Projects of Tata Technologies. And mentor is Dr. K. N. Subramania, Principal, RV College of Engineering. To give a brief about Dr. Lieutenant Colonel Prasad, his into research and that is his interest. And Dr. Prasad joined SDMIMD in the year 2009 as HR and leadership faculty. After his voluntary retirement from the Indian Army, he was awarded a PhD by the Visvesvaraya Technological University in the area of technical training with an emphasis on using simulators and technology in the year 2018. In the year 2006, he was awarded for outstanding academic performance in PGDM by SIBM Pune. He has 11 years of teaching experience in HRM leadership, material management, equipment lifecycle management, logistics. He completed his master's in engineering in automobile engineering from Pune University in the year 1998. And he has published various research papers on leadership and armor materials. Over to you, Dr. Prasad.
Good afternoon to all of you. This is it's my privilege to speak before you and also interact with you. Quality has been a very dear subject to me for a very long time. And briefly, I'd like to tell the context of choosing this particular title for the talk, that is quality consciousness. In most organizations, the quality is driven by the management or the head of the organizations, whatever kind of the organization it is, whether it is a private corporate organization, maybe a government agency, an institute or a university or any kind of organization. So what happens is that, well, the management, they are selected or nominated and they sit in a seat because they have earned that seat. So what happens is that when they institute a quality regime, they make it a point to make it as part of a process in an organization. And then the thoughts about quality in that organization trickles down to everybody in that organization. So in that situation, whether you want it or not, you have to follow some processes. That is the perspective of the person who is being subjected to this quality regime. On the other hand, if the organization itself is a quality culture, or it convinces the person that this whatever they are trying to do or whatever I want to do needs to be of quality. That is the spirit of what I'd like to speak about it. In that, let us start with one is we need to have a quality mindset. I'd like to start with two examples. Few examples are personal examples from my professional experiences and few from the history. One example is that there is it's a personal experience written by Robert Pirsig. The name of the book is Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. It's quite a famous book for all those who, though it's an American book, all those who are pursue about studies about philosophy and quality and things like that. He starts on a 17-day journey on his motorcycle, and with him, his estranged son, a teenage son, accompanies him on the motorcycle that is going across America, and they become part of a motorcycle gang. They're well-intentioned gang. And what he realizes over a period of time, he is a dejected man in life, and what he thinks is that for his only aim is to become close to his son during that journey. So over a period of time, he realizes one of the best educations he can give his son during those 17 days and make him respect him is that to show him how much he loves refinement in the performance of his motorcycle. And his motorcycle, though it is a very old second-hand motorcycle, he starts checking it thoroughly, and it never gives him a problem. That is, the moment he develops the ability to identify when a problem may occur, and he starts maintaining that, and the results are very evident. And in about few days of their journey, they don't have much time. His co-runner, the other one couple who come with him in the motorcycle journey, they have a brand new motorcycle, but they don't know anything about the technological part of it, and they don't make any effort to learn about maintaining quality. So the new motorcycle breaks down, but the old motorcycle does not break down because he looks after it. How does he look after? They go to a high altitude in Montana, that is near the Rocky Mountains. And at that time, both the motorcycles start giving black smoke. So he realized that due to high altitude, about 10,000 feet, the oxygen levels have come down, and the distance, what you call distance between the these two terminals of the spark plug need to be changed. And if they change it, it will become all right. So he understands that, he changes it. So his big motorcycle becomes all right, and the other owner says that I'll give it to a showroom and I'll not do it. His motorcycle continues with low output and smoking. So like this, he develops a few theories about which we are going to talk about. Next is about one 16th century tea master in Japan by name Sen no Rikyu. Sen no Rikyu was close to the Japanese emperor, and he belongs to one of the three schools of tea mastery, that is serving tea and providing tea. So in this, what happens is that he develops such a kind of conscious and present mind, what they it is the same mind as what they tell you in yoga, as to develop superior consciousness. So he develops such a mind that the art of recognizing quality comes natural to him. In one of the stories about Sen no Rikyu is about 60 years old, and one of the feudal lords who wants Sen no Rikyu to canvas for him with the emperor comes to his home, and Sen no Rikyu says that before I become dear to you at my home, I'd like to visit you and see how you live. So he invites him. When he goes there, he comes to know that this newly become rich person has purchased an old Japanese stone villa, and in that middle of the garden there is a fountain with a lot of moss, and it looks very, very natural to that place. And there are some plants which are very local to that particular place, are grown around it, and it looks as much a part of nature as it can be. So when he looks at it and tells the homeowner that it is beautiful, and then comes back. So next time he goes, by then the homeowner would have refurbished this garden, He brings down all the moss, everything, and polishes that stone and brings some exotic plants from somewhere and puts it as part of the his garden and fountain. Then Sen no Rikyu says that you are no longer my friend, because you see, you destroyed something was so beautiful and natural in that place, and it needs, that means I'm commenting, it needs that kind of an eye to identify quality, because quality is contextual. That all places, like for example, in a park bench, which is with a cast iron frame, you don't expect a 0.0001 millimeter tolerance or something like that. It is roughly cast, and that roughness mixes with the nature. So let us talk about quality mindset and a few definitions about quality. ISO 9000-8402-1986 defines quality as a totality of features and characteristics of a product or service that bears its ability to satisfy stated or implied needs. Stated or implied needs. It doesn't talk about customer. ISO 9000 says that degree to which a set of inherent characteristics fulfills the requirements. Whose requirements? Not mentioned. It's of course customer requirements. And Edward Deming says that the efficient production of quality that the market expects and the linked quality management, costs go down, and these are the effects of quality. Costs go down and productivity goes up as improvement in quality is accomplished by better management of design, engineering, testing, by improving the processes, as well as post-production management and service, reducing the money is contributed. Peter Drucker says that quality in a product or service is not what the supplier wants it, it is what the customer gets out and is useful to him. Joseph M. Juran, the master of quality from the US, says it is fitness for use. Quality is fitness for use. Fitness is defined by the customer. Six Sigma, number of defects per million opportunities. Genichi Teguchi has the two definitions, a Japanese master of quality: uniformity and a target value. The idea is to lower the standard deviation in outcomes and keep the range of outcomes to a certain number of standard deviation with rare exceptions. The loss a product imposes on society after it is shipped. This is the definition by Genichi Teguchi. That means, if you ship a poor quality product, it may return to the maker, and that consumes money for the logistics. It may entail sending a mechanic to repair it, and that entails cost. So that is the loss a product imposes on society after it is shipped. Philip B. Crosby says that conformance to requirements. Quality is conformance to requirements. And now let us go into the quality mindset as a piece of understanding. It is a way of thinking, a mental inclination or disposition, or a frame of mind. Our mindset is our collection of thoughts and beliefs that shape our habits, and our thought habits affect how we think, what we feel, and what we do. It also makes up the mental attitude that determines our interpretations and responses to events and circumstances and situations. Now I'd like to go into some personal experiences. During my service in the army, I am a BE in mechanical from SJCE Mysore. And then instead of joining Larsen and Toubro L&T Pockline, I joined the Indian Army in the Corps of Electronics and Mechanical Engineers. And I was part of the pioneering team of EME officers who took over the aviation maintenance in the Army aviation from the Indian Air Force. This was 1991-92. And there was resistance in the Army aviation units that Air Force officer had gone and Army officers have come in. So we learned everything from scratch. Most of the time in the aviation units, I used to be either under the helicopter or above the helicopter. And I also had the opportunity to observe the best of engineers, best of mechanics, best of pilots, to who caused whatever the kind of results that came about. So some of my experiences in related to this quality mindset I'd like to share with you. One of the things is that, when the day starts, in any aviation unit, in army aviation especially, we used to do it by the books. Morning 5:30 there would be briefing, and selected pilots, the nominated pilots there and then, would recite some checklists as to what they would do in a particular kind of emergency, that is mid-air emergency in flying the helicopter. So it was my observation for a period of around 10 years where I served in the army aviation, was that those pilots who were deliberate in reciting, who were deliberate in following the checklist, were always successful. They still are alive. And second thing is about following the schedule of maintaining the helicopter. The schedule says that it is almost similar to, in fact, ISO 9000 came from preventive maintenance. ISO 9000, the schedules are similar, that you read a schedule as to what action to be taken in the check, go there, do it, come and put a tick mark in the form 700, which is maintained for each helicopter. And these checklists are for our ease, our mechanics being from vernacular backgrounds. We translated all the French manuals, that is, which are available to us in English, to Hindi. But we used to tell them that you have to learn English. One of the activities we did for improving quality in our units was to make learning of quality as fun. That is, I was good in making drawings, cartoons. So I used to make cartoons and depicting that the character in the cartoon looks like some mechanic and taking a particular action, and what happens if he does a wrong thing. So it became a sort of novelty for all those mechanics to discuss among each other and say that this particular person in the comic, that is cartoon, looks like him and things like that. But in the bargain, in about 6 months, they started learning English and they used to understand the manual and then follow the schedule. This is how I thought of introducing quality mindset, and we were successful. Finally, in 2004, my last posting in Udhampur, at that time a very busy counter-insurgency area in Jammu and Kashmir. So what we did was we could achieve 100% serviceability. You understand, it's a double-edged sword. There are 15 aircrafts present, and 15 aircrafts have to be maintained all around the year. And if in any time all 15 are serviceable, my personal view is that the maintenance is bad, or something is missing, or somebody is cheating. On an average, however you calculate by the kind of service schedules given by the manufacturer, our manufacturer was Aerospatiale France, and at least any given time, 2.5 to 3 aircrafts have to be on ground under servicing. So we could achieve 15 aircraft serviceable and make them fly and get photographs for only about a window of 10 days in a year. So that was because of quality. If you forego quality and if you take chances, all 15 may fly for 1 month, and afterwards 7 or 8 aircrafts will come down together. So bad calculation, because there are 147 rotables or 147 instruments which need routine maintenance and removed and sent to HAL for servicing, and they are returned back. In this calculation, you imagine we had rotables, that is instruments which were supposed to be sent in numbers, 147 multiplied by 15, roughly about 2,400 items. Keep going to HL, coming back, and in that bargain, aircrafts need to be kept serviceable. And this was what we had achieved. At one day, 15 aircrafts became serviceable, and we were ecstatic. So in another thing is that those pilots and engineers who used to pay a lot of deliberation in keeping a red flag or highlighting smaller details of maintenance. You imagine a mechanic, like I check a mechanic whether he is reading and putting a tick mark, or I check a mechanic whether he is doing something or not. Both are important. Putting a tick mark is also important, doing is also important. Next thing, simple actions like using a torque wrench properly, simple action like twisting the binding wire to lock a nut. All these are issues of quality. How a person locks a nut, there are many ways. You can do a shoddy job of it and it looks bad, and you can hide it by folding the wire behind it. But you can understand who values quality among the mechanics by doing it properly, as is what is given in the book. See, another word I feel that everybody should value in developing a quality mindset is conscientiousness. Conscientiousness is that one of those primary qualities in the Big Five test, which is used for selecting senior leaders, that is deliberate effort or deliberate mindset, where you pay attention to smaller details, and deliberately meticulous can roughly explain conscientiousness. Any kind of work, any kind of task needs deliberately meticulous attitude to do that. Second, maintaining order, chronology, and history of consequences. I told you about the pilots. Who used to remember the checklist, who used to recite the checklist, who used to be very methodical. You travel with them in the aircraft carrying your test equipment and all that. You will know that the aircraft is being flown as per the book. And one of the most famous sayings in the aviation world is there are no old and bold pilots. So that is, people who take chances may not exist. So anybody who follows the order, of course, you take chances when there is a war. If you take chances when there is no, you have reached a point of no return in that, where it is a training flight or where it is a flight where all things can be done. It is like our Surya Kumar Yadav or cricketer Surya Kumar Yadav or Rohit Sharma hitting a six when the required run rate is 2 or 3. It was not necessary. That means if the team wants to win, you should not do such irresponsible activities. Next is overcoming the temptation to memorize. Whenever there is a manual, when the manual says that you need not memorize points, you need to keep it open and you read it and do the schedule and come back. My order for the technicians was that if anybody tries to memorize the schedules, you will be punished. That is, in the comic books which I made, the memorization of schedules was banned and it was mocked upon and it was a red flag. That is, you need not memorize schedules. You need to read it, do it, and then later if you forget it, it doesn't do any harm. You are not expected to memorize. Same is quality. And now coming on to, well, let's move on to the next one. There are many other stories which I'd like to tell you from my experience. The psychology of quality. I remember a Carl Jung statement. Carl Jung is a very well-known psychologist from the past century. Primordial images and symbols found in the collective unconscious, which, in contrast to the personal unconscious, gathers together and passes on the experiences of previous generations, preserving traces of humanity's evolutionary development over time. So it may look very complicated, but it's I feel I can explain it. How do we learn? How do we learn as a society, as a community? What is good behavior, what is bad behavior. These are all passed on from our collective consciousness, from the society, and that's what become an unconscious mind, and we work upon it. Quality is like that. When the culture in the organization behaves in a certain manner and a person becomes part of it, and his personal goals and organizational goals align with each other, then quality is injected into that person unconsciously. The deliberate effort comes after that. That means the person first starts valuing quality, and then he start doing things to achieve better quality, and that is how the quality comes. Otherwise, quality is an abstract. There is no single fixed definition to explain the quality of something. It is a perception. Except, of course, you may say that tolerance limits and all that. Tolerance limits are also, say, I see, we used to deal with this one particular German equipment made by MAN, and there used to be one made by, that is MAN, that is Machine and Fabric Hardenberg Nuremberg, which makes trucks. This particular equipment was a crane which was capable of lifting about 70 tons. It was during my service, it was with me. And in that, there used to be one particular boom, which hydraulic boom, which used to lift that crane. I remember that particular label which was given next to that shiny, very bright stainless steel boom, which used to get exposed only when the boom extends. The tolerance limit of that boom was 0.0007 mm. So that means since it lifts so much weight, of course, the internal pressure will be about 1,000 bar or so. So to withstand that, there should be virtually no leakage, and the tolerance limits have to be very, very low. If the weight reduces, tolerance limits increase, and weight further reduces and there is no weight to be borne, there will be no tolerance limits. So in that context, I say every definition of quality is contextual, including the tolerance limits you give or even the customer perception. It is no wonder the same Maruti Swift car meets all the crash requirements in Singapore, but in India, it does not meet any crash requirements. So the context for quality in Singapore is higher. Of course, BNCAP has come now in India to that is compete with the NCAP internationally. So quality changes from Indian context to Singaporean context. So the psychology of quality, it takes time to create quality mindset. You have to give time. It has to gain acceptance. That people may start questioning as to why we need to follow these rules. That means when you go to a Toyota factory, they tell you to look left, look right, and then look front, and then cross the road. And people may say that let us do a good job inside the factory. That is not possible. You know, when you develop a quality mindset, the quality mindset pervades into all factors of your life. Your life becomes okay at home. Your life becomes okay at your workplace. And you can't have an abusive relationship in the morning and come without any worry to the office and then produce quality products. It's not possible. You need to have a very clear quality mindset. That's what the psychology of quality is all about. And second is about convincing versus persuading on quality. You know, when you convince somebody on quality or any other issue, you follow a method of reasoning. That means why we should do this quality, because quality is acceptable to the customer and customer is satisfied, customer is ready to pay a higher price. That is the logic given by the manufacturer or the employer to the employee. Persuading on quality is that you better do it. You better do it, no reasons given. So of course, the latter part, the persuading part, may create resistance among the workers and may lower their integrity sometimes. That means when you are not looking, they may not produce something, they may not take those actions. And fourth one is that quality and time, effort, money. I had mentioned to you, quality is contextual. You know, it is a well-known fact in all circles that when you can score 75 marks out of 100 in place of 70, you need a little more effort. When you want to score 85, this time more than the 75, you need a large amount of effort. And you start scoring 95 marks and you need a huge amount of effort. And then to move from 95 to 100, it takes all the effort you put together in the past, because you are refining yourself. So that is why when you try to compare quality with time, effort, money it is taken, it is always depending on what price the customer is ready to pay, and based on that quality is adopted. Otherwise, if the company does it for the joy of producing quality, it may not be commercially viable. Most of the things which are produced for the first time as a prototype may meet all the qualitative requirement, but are commercially unviable even after removing the research cost. It is because to understand the context of customers' customers' perspective, it takes time. Now coming on to the uh, quality as experienced by early adopters and late adopters. And early adopters are ready to pay the best of money to acquire a new thing. You see, uh, Apple iPhone 15, when it came to the market, there are a few people who are ready to pay any price, go stand in front of the shop, and they know it is a quality stuff and they're ready to pay. And afterwards it finishes. That particular rise or growth finishes, and because these early adopters become advertisers for the brand, and the late adopters need that is a major chunk, they need to come and take over. That late adopters may not be paying that much money. Of course, the price reduces. The same thing has been seen in both Apple iPhones and even Tesla cars. The best, good, and reasonable. One of the stories I remember from the history is that one of the best quotes of Michelangelo is that good is the enemy of the best. It's not bad is the enemy of the best, because when you are satisfied with something small, you refuse to go ahead and accept it as what is possible and may not put any effort on it. Whereas if you fail, you again get up and you move ahead. It is no wonder that masters like Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci have produced sculptures and paintings, other arts of the best possible quality with utmost nearness to human forms in reality, because they gave importance to quality. Now I am coming to a very niche subject as to, can we reach a flow state and achieve quality? What is a flow state? There is one book by name Flow by one psychologist from Hungary by name Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. He describes the flow state as a loss of self-consciousness that happens when you are completely absorbed in an activity, intellectual, professional, or physical, and is described in contemporary psychology as a state of flow. This is called a state of flow. And of course, to reach a state of flow, it must require skill. It should be challenging, not too challenging, with clear goals towards success. Quality can be a best fit to achieve flow state. Interestingly, a flow state is characterized by the absence of emotion. Best of surgeons, when they are performing a very complicated brain or heart operation, they lack emotion. It is not just the job for them. It is a sort of love affair for them, and they don't failing or succeeding is not in their mind at all at that time. It is about doing things correctly. A complete loss of self-consciousness. In retrospect, the flow activity may be described as enjoyable or even exhilarating. That means people feel. Of course, any of you may experience this at your homes. On your busiest day, when you have your tasks cut out and you have too many targets to meet, and you know you can meet, but it is all very closely ordered. You have to move from one place to another, and you need to achieve by evening, and you know you have already done it. Your health supports you, your mind supports you. You don't become angry, and you feel the elation or joy of doing all that in the limited possible time because of your planning, your control, and your execution. Planning, control, execution are the three steps which are mentioned by Joseph Juran for quality. So when you practice it, it's like, I have experienced this. I don't know whether any of you have experienced. In the 1980s, 81 or so, when I was having my bicycle, I used to think that why should I pay 50 paisa to uh, that one shop fellow to put puncture. A lot of punctures used to happen on my bicycle. And why shouldn't I buy a kit to do puncture? And I started observing in my 11th standard that I used to have a bicycle rally, and of the 10 punctures I had repaired, only 5 used to succeed, and that 5, of course, I need to repatch. Then I used to observe whichever puncture is put by Satar, that shop fellow, that it would never fail, and he takes 50 paisa. And to save that 50 paisa, I had purchased an entire kit with the tube and rubber patches and some emery paper and all that. And then I realized I'm conscious of quality that I want to do, and every time I'm improving. But how fast can I improve? It will take 10 years for me to reach his scale, because he does 100 punctures a day, and I do 1 puncture in 3 months. So of course, it's not possible. It needs practice. With all this planning, control, and execution, you need practice. So quality and value traps. There are some value traps. Value traps are these, can be explained generally as the inability or reluctance to evaluate, reevaluate notions due to a commitment to previous values. You learn something, and afterwards you are not ready to let go. And you find that only one person is producing something. You tell everybody that you all will go check with him before finalizing the whole thing. So these are all the value traps we have. So we need to keep an open mind, even with quality. On the whole, these value traps, that is inability or reluctance to evaluate notions or any kind of new changes in the environment, and learning from it and increasing quality, and sticking to the old method, because, like, for example, this is a very normal thing. Whenever I do something, uh, I have to carry my I have to wear that particular shirt or something. Of course, there's nothing wrong in maybe, but is that appropriate for the occasion? What if it is a flowing piece of cloth and which will cause obstruction? So you need to learn, and you need to let yourself out from these value traps, and this can be overcome by rediscovering the facts as they arise and learn, and recognizing the facts that are available and apparent. That is, wherever the opportunities provide, the employer will provide you with manuals and all that. Seriously read it. Don't go by your memorization or previous understanding. Deliberately slowing down to allow unstructured processing of information, and of course reassessing the weight attached to the current knowledge. You see, the current knowledge, whatever you have, to let go, it will not be completely possible. Unlearning is extremely important to achieve superior quality as much as learning. Aspects of quality mindset, that is, few aspects which are basically visual. You need to have the big picture. You should have the habit of going to the root cause of a problem. ability to investigate, and ability to have a detail orientation, have a patient lookout for smaller reasons that may have caused a bigger problem, always preferring prevention over correction or cure, process orientation, follow a process in steps, process to factor possible failures. That means if you fail, what should I do? That also should become a process. Importance to maintaining quality atmosphere and culture. That is, in a place where crisis management is the rule of the day, of course, you can't expect high quality. It may be a flash in the pan. It will come for 1 or 2 days, and then afterwards it will disappear, because crisis management means what? That you can expect the atmosphere. But people will be shouting against each other, and somebody will be angry over each other. There will be gossips running, and somebody is being preferred more. Some customer is being given preference. Everything has to run with quality. In a multitask and jugado atmosphere, you cannot expect quality. Importance to maintaining quality atmosphere and culture. Customer orientation. That is, you need to maintain customer orientation. That means what the man wants. That is why no wonder customer relationship management is one of the very large areas for a marketer to study. And even after that, that is for customer engagement is a very large area of study. And of course, the need for all level employees to have more or less equal sense of urgency. This is one of the what you call most important things as professed by Joseph Juran, that is the quality guru of USA. He lived from 1904 to 1908, 2008, 104 years. And in entire his life, he dedicated to quality, especially manufacturing quality. And sense of urgency. You know, a startup owner will have the sense of urgency because he owns the place. Then afterwards, he has 2 friends. They'll also have equal sense of urgency. Then afterwards, he hires key employees for attitude and competence. Whereas that if that attitude, the selection process for that attitude is not good, the sense of urgency will not be equal or towards the same level as that of the owners of the organization. When sense of urgency is not there, the importance for quality also falls. Accountability and responsibility. You know, whenever there is accountability and responsibility, people having quality mindset always respect it. See, somebody has to be accountable and responsible for something going wrong. It cannot be that something has happened. Like there is a huge area in jurisprudence, that is law, as a law of torts. That means you cannot assign or attribute the mistake to anybody. It is natural cause or God's will. When you manufacture something, you cannot say such words that it is by God's will that my quality is bad. You have to be responsible for the quality produced. Train and coach should be natural. In a quality atmosphere, correcting without causing ego issues, correcting without causing any level of reduction in acceptability to the atmosphere is most important. Every leader at all levels has to be a trainer and a coach. Avoiding the danger of gumption trap. And in quality management, basic 4 levels, that is quality planning, assurance. And there are few dimensions of quality. Performance, that is, if you explain a product in terms of quality, these are the things. I'll just run through it. We are not left with much time. Performance of the product, features, reliability, aesthetics. Reliability, we also call it as in the armies, in the armed forces, we call it as single shot kill probability, SSKP. In the industry, they call it first time right, FTR. So that means every time you start something, that every time you use an item, it has to work in its full comprehensive utility. And aesthetics should look good, and it should be pleasing to the eyes without any sharp corners or anything like that. conformance, it should conform to the tolerance limits ascribed, and durability, keep on working. I remember I had gone to a friend's home in Chikmagalur district long back, and it was a long weekend of 3 days, and they were having a flour mill in front of their house in the village. That was the only flour mill of the village. It used to work all the time. On that evening, by his closing time was 8 o'clock, and the power went away at around 7:45. And that motor was on, power went away, and people left their things, and he closed the shop. And some emergency happened on the next day, and for 3 days that man was not there, and the current came back, and he had forgotten to switch off the motor, that is grinder, that is your flour mill, and the motor was running all the time. Nobody was having the key. Can you imagine the vintage of that particular motor? It was a Westinghouse motor made in 1932. And when I went then 1932, and that man used to take pride in saying that it had never come for repair any time. And the year I went there was 1985. 1985, it was working 3 days continuously, more than 78 hours it worked, and it was still working when we came back and opened the keys. Quality. And was there any formalized quality protocols and processes in 1932 at Westinghouse? But Westinghouse used to follow quality. Of course, the same Westinghouse has got their hydraulic turbines put in Shivan Samudram, 70 kilometers from Mysore, which was the first electricity producing hydroelectric station in India on a bigger scale. Next is serviceability. That means at any given time, a set of equipment are always available. And perceived quality. I'd like to tell something about my experience in serviceability. The year was 2000, and I was in Siachen Glacier. I spent about a year in Siachen Glacier, and I am having two particular experiences which I want to share from Siachen Glacier. We were having these Bombardier snowmobiles, and I was responsible. I had gone there from aviation to earn my command report. I was commanding a unit there, and we were maintaining about 55 Bombardier Lynx snowmobiles there, and they were there for 2 years. And their sensor unit started failing. The sensor unit in that particular twin-cylinder engine is located within the crankcase. You cannot reach it from outside, and it does the same job as a spark plug, same job as giving current to a spark plug in a timed fashion, as in any motorcycle or scooter. And we had a big problem. I'll tell you why. By then, within the past 6 months, due to the Bofors scandal, AB Bofors scandal, this Bombardier company was acquired by AB Bofors from Sweden, and all the spares had stopped coming because it was on the blacklist of India. So here I was responsible, don't know what to do because these sensor units are not available. Went to Delhi. I inquired in Shahadara about some dealers who can import that. They were made by Ducati, and they quoted price for a sensor unit of 20,000 rupees. 20,000 rupees was beyond for around 35 snowmobiles which are unserviceable at that time. The temperature range at Siachen used to be somewhere in during winters from -6 to -55, sometimes -70. So equipments used to fail, and finally, it was a no-go for me to purchase from dealers who can import it through Ukraine and other places, the same Ducati equipment. So I wanted to do some improvisation, went to Ajmeri Gate, and there was one Bajaj Bravo scooter. And this Bajaj Bravo scooter, the impedance, current, and voltage values matched with this, but I have to put 2 of them. And designed a bracket, and went to Ambala, got it made, took it back to Siachen and tested one for 12 hours. It worked at that cold temperatures, -20 it used to be, and then came back, replicated the same, and all 55 snowmobiles were serviceable at once by this improvisation. For that, more than matching it, we have to run it again and again in that condition, one particular snowmobile, to test whether it works or not. So it is not, average working was not required because snowmobiles were very crucial in bringing ammunition and medicine to the higher posts which are located at 21,000 feet in Siachen, Central Glacier and Northern Glacier. And so it was a moment of joy for all of us. We could achieve it. Second one was there was a severe power shortage at Siachen base camp, and all the generators which we had were below 10 kVA capacity, which were of no use. What I could see was that in the Nubra Valley, several old Shaktiman vehicles and some Leyland vehicles had fallen down, accidents, and they were left there because it was beyond economical repair to recover them. So I used to have a Tatra 8x8 695 horsepower tank transporter tractor mounted with a machine lorry. That means I had a lathe, everything mounted on that, and I could drive on the empty bed of Nubra River. We use that vehicle to drag all these vehicles, and that is a chassis of the vehicle. We will take mechanics, break down those vehicle, accidented vehicle, only recover the powertrain and engine and the chassis, and bring it back to our camp. So what I was planning was that why not ask for funds to get some alternators from Delhi, match it with this engine and produce electricity, because we had a ground tank having around 300,000 liters of diesel any given of time, no use, because generators were very small. So finally, what we did was that we prepared 4 generators producing roughly about 600 kilowatts of power. And the biggest problem was not to create the 230 volts which is wanted or the current which is on demand, but it is to maintain that 50 cycles per second. For that, we need to identify a particular speed at which it works, and we finally could home on to a particular setting of the governor, which is in the 4th gear of the vehicle, locked it, and then we started producing 600 kilowatts of power at Siachen Glacier, started supplying electricity to everybody. We were zero and started using that diesel which was there. So these were a few experiences in which I really had the joy of experiencing quality and the results of producing quality work. So now lastly, I'd like to cover compliance and quality. These are a few statements which are anathema, that is compliance culture and quality culture. We need to meet the standards. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. Wrong. When the customer is satisfied, why are you bothered about improving quality? Competitors decide our quality. Is it? Tell him to relax. Quality experts are okay with the results. Should self-regulation limit you to compliance or make you continuously strive for quality even if the system doesn't demand it? Sir, why are you rating him higher when both of us are meeting the same standards as per KRA? Don't stick your neck out. You need to confirm. Wrong. Is quality a trading commodity or maintaining good relationship with the organization? What is better? Of course, you know what is better. It is quality. Finally, quality is a pursuit of pure truth, always at the very core of a person's mind, identical to the creative tension of love. Here you are romancing with quality. With this, I rest my case. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Prasad. And it was quite insightful on quality consciousness, not limited to businesses. It can be applied to various fields. It promotes excellence, reliability, and customer satisfaction is what you have been emphasizing today. And thank you for your talk. I would also like to thank the annual sponsors of BCIC, Bueller, Continental, Fundamax, IAMPL, MTR, Sona Group, TVS Motors, Vishwas, and Wipro for supporting us and enabling us to conduct all the events throughout the year. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. There is one Colonel Hari Prasad who has asked a question. May I address it?
Yeah, please.
Colonel Hari Prasad, can you please, you have raised your hand. Kalhari Prasad, are you there? Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.